Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the year on the CVCS Athletics Podcast. My name is Leisegang, and I will be your host of the podcast for the 2024-2025 school year. I am a student athlete in my junior year here at CVCS. I play varsity baseball and varsity football, and I am on the student leadership team serving as the athletic prefect. Throughout the year, we will have episodes every other week updating you guys on the recent CVCS sporting events, and we will pair that with interviews of coaches, players, alumni, and more. A lot to look forward to. To start off this episode, we'll have a little recap of last week in sports. On Tuesday, all three levels of the CVCS girls volleyball played at Mission Viejo High School. Frostoff Junior Varsity were both unfortunately not able to come out with the win. However, varsity swept Mission in 3 straight sets. Then, on Thursday, girls tennis had a home game against Segerstrom High School at Dana Hills, and they ended that with an 8-10 loss, making the record 0-2 on the season. However, the girls still have a lot of time to turn it around. The girls volleyball Frostoff junior varsity and varsity teams all played foothill last Thursday, and unfortunately, none of the levels were able to come out with the win. The week before, however, on Saturday, the girls finished off their week at UCSB in the Bishop Diego tournament, going 3-0, beating Trinity Classical Academy, Wiseburn Da Vinci Schools, and Newbury Park High School, also beating Mission Viejo and St. Margaret's earlier in the week. Football came off their dominating win against Arroyo High School with the score of 34-6 in their first game of the season. Then, last week on Friday, they had another great win, 34-17 against University High School, making their record 2-0. This upcoming week now, in CVCS sports, tennis starts the week with a home match versus Western Christian High School, again at Dana Hills High School on Thursday. The tennis team also has their second match of the week on Friday the 6th at Saddleback College versus St. Margaret's, looking to pick up their first win of the season in both of those games. Girls JV and varsity volleyball start their week on Tuesday with the home game against Horizon Prep School. They finish their week off on Thursday with a home game again against Arrowhead Christian Academy. Finally, football is coming into this week with a 2-0 record, riding off their dominant win last week against University. The third game of the year is a home game on Friday the 6th against Banning High School at Tesoro starting at 7. Now, for our first interview of the year, we will be interviewing our new head athletic director in his first year here at CVCS, Mr. Lucas Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong attended San Diego State University, where he studied recreation and sports management. He then went on and spent 2 years as an assistant athletic director at San Diego Christian College. After his time there, he spent another 2 years working for Menlo College as their director of athletic events and game operations. Since 2015, he's been working for the Golden State Athletic Conference, and from 2015 to 2018, he served as the Director of Membership Services. In 2018, however, he took the position of Assistant Commissioner of the Golden State Athletic Conference. All right, so now I'm here with Mr. Armstrong. You can start off saying a little bit about yourself. Thanks for coming on. A little bit about yourself, maybe how your experience here at CVCS has been so far.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a quick first 2 months. I got started early this summer in July, and not a lot of people were around in July. It was a pretty slow month, so really just were able to get my feet under me. But now that school has started and student athletes are back and teachers are back, we've been in full swing, staying busy with football and girls volleyball, girls tennis. So I've learned a lot about the community, learned a lot about high school sports. This is my first time ever working in my professional career in high school sports. I previously have only ever worked in college athletics. So there's definitely some similarities, but a lot of differences. So just really trying to get a great understanding of all that CVC athletics has to offer and how I can improve that and take us to the next level.
Yeah, that's great. How do you said you've only worked in college, so how do you kind of the differences between the two, what you like a little better, maybe a little less?
Yeah, I think the The biggest difference that I've noticed is just how the organization of high school sports happens a little bit more fluidly. Whereas in college sports, things are done several years in advance. There's usually contracts with all types of games years in advance. So scheduling has been a bit of a challenge and a learning experience for me, that high school sports schedules are done, more within the same academic school year versus like, oh, our schedule for 25, 26 is already done and we're only in 2024. So just learning and adjusting to that. But just trying to build relationships around the area with different athletic directors, different facilities. As you know, like we don't have a lot of facilities here, and a lot of our teams have to play off campus.
Yeah.
And so when someone new comes in, the thing that I can take from my college athletic experience is like relationships matter. I can't just go knocking on someone's door saying, hey, I need your baseball field, or hey, I need your football field. Like we have to have a relationship for that to work. And so just being able to build those relationships, that's been a big difference for me too, of just different people that I'm meeting. I had a lot of contacts in the college world, but really no contacts in the high school world. So just building those relationships.
Yeah, okay. So like you said, college, this first time in high school, so you've been athletics your whole career. So like kind of where did that interest in sports stem from? You mentioned before that you played golf and basketball. So where did just growing up?
Yeah, I grew up in like a huge athletics family. My dad played basketball professionally. My mom was a big-time collegiate volleyball player. And so growing up as kids, like my sister and I, we were always around sports. And so like from a very young age, I felt like I wanted to do something, in my professional career with sports. I didn't know if that was going to be coaching or athletic administration. And there for a while in high school, I thought I really wanted to be like a sports agent, and represent athletes in contract negotiations and stuff like that. And then getting into college and like realizing how many business law classes I was going to have to take and like what law classes look like. Yeah. They're a whole different animal. And so then that's kind of when I fell into athletic administration. And so my senior year of college, I got a really good internship at San Diego Christian College. And like from there, the rest was history. That just led from one job to the next to another job to here I am today at CVCS. So, but I knew growing up, just with my parents both being athletes and coaches, like athletics or bust.
Yeah, that's kind of the same boat I'm in. So my parents are actually from South Africa, so they played different types of sports. But my dad, huge sports guy, and then my brother, he plays soccer. So kind of same boat. I always thought, I don't know where I'm at now, but I always thought like, I wanted, same as you, wanted to do something in sports administration, or I don't know, agent, just like you. What were the best things for you? What helped you the most trying to maneuver through that in college?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just kind of identifying in the sports world that I want to do. There's so many different things that go into sports, especially nowadays: social media, marketing, podcasts, like video, coaching, administration, eligibility, athletic training, and so just trying to figure out where under the athletics administration umbrella I wanted to fall. And so thankfully early on I got a lot of good experience in my internship with the different departments within athletics. I had some eligibility experience, getting like student athletes cleared. Okay. And then I had a lot more experience with like scheduling and just the administrative side of contracts and facilities and game management. And so, and then obviously the sports information side and the marketing and media side. And so I've really kind of found my comfort zone with like more of the administrative, game management, contract negotiations, like that type of stuff. The sports information side is a lot of fun, stats and numbers. Like I'm a big numbers guy, and so like that side of it's pretty fun, of just looking at stats and box scores. Yeah. But those SIDs work like some crazy hours, and I tip my cap to any SID out there because they work late nights, writing articles, doing graphics, and so like those SID jobs are really tough.
Yeah. So did you say you did spend some time doing that? Yeah. You just.
I did a little bit in my internship, and I actually also did it in my most previous job in coming to CVCS. Before I was with the Golden State Athletic Conference, which is a NAIA conference with all faith-based institutions around California and Arizona. And so part of my job at the GSAC was to do like website management, social media. So I would hire like social media interns to help with that. And then also just like the statistical upkeep of all of our stats for all sports.
Okay.
So I've had a lot of experience with the different areas of like athletic administration, and I appreciate what each of those jobs, the challenges they bring and the hours required for those jobs.
Yeah. I mean, you said, so SID, what does that stand for?
Sports Information Director.
Okay. So you did that at your last job, and that's for the whole conference, right?
Yeah, it was part of my job of my requirements and my responsibilities when working at the GSAC was all of the SID work for the conference in addition to like the other things that I did.
Okay. All right. So moving on a little bit here. So first year here at CVCS, maybe how you liking it so far? What are you kind of looking forward to? What are you doing now?
Yeah, I love it so far. It's been great. It's been a great blessing. I prayed a lot about it prior to even getting the job, and just, is this something that I wanted to explore? As I said, like I had never been in the high school world before. So very thankful that my prayers were answered and God led me here. But, what am I doing now? Now we're, in the heart of all the fall sports seasons. And then just gearing up for winter and spring, me trying to secure facilities for our soccer teams to play games, making sure that our baseball and softball programs have their contracts down for their facilities where they can practice and play. Okay. A large part of that, just goes back to the relationship building and making sure that our student athletes can have a great experience. I think that's like me being a former student athlete. If I can try to provide our student athletes anything, is like, can I give them that same great experience that I had as a student athlete? Because I think that's what makes us all fall in love and want to keep playing and getting better, is, are we getting the proper experience? And obviously we have challenges with, like, our facilities are limited. We can't hide from that, but what can we do to make that great? And so just working with those different parties to making sure that our spring sports and our winter sports are going to be having successful seasons. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, CVCS, small school, little family environment, it's great. But for sports-wise, it's a little tough, especially for you. I play baseball and football. Can't do either of them here. I mean, you can practice here, but can't do either of them here. But I'm third year here. It's been amazing. You and
Mr.
Coach Presler, he both done great jobs. Mm-hmm. So I've always had a great time playing here, and it's made my CVCS experience amazing. So you mentioned in the midst of fall sports, I think all three, football, volleyball, and tennis, all having very competitive starts to their season. How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about their season so far? What the fans should look forward to, and maybe some key players that you've noticed?
Yeah, football is definitely off to a great start. 2-0, and they have their third home game coming up this week at Tesoro, so that'll be fun on Friday night, as long as temperature stays under control. It's supposed to be hot this week, so you can get up to like 100 degrees on Friday. So it might be warm out there.
Yeah.
But football's been terrific. Coach Cam has done a wonderful job. First-year head coach, and him and I both coming in at the same time, kind of brand new. So it's been good to see him succeed here early on. And I know Banning will be a good test. And the girls' volleyball has been great. They've had a couple tough losses last week to Dana Hills and Foothill, but I think both of those programs are highly respected in Orange County. And Coach Bond and her staff have done a great job. I believe the varsity is up to like 8-2 or 8-3. So
coming off a Division IV CIF win. Yeah,
definitely a strong start to their title defense, and they get 2 home games this week. So hopefully they can knock both those off. And our girls tennis team has been ultra competitive. Haven't won any matches yet, but they lost 3 matches 8-10, which is extremely close.
So, for sure.
Definitely, Coach Carey is making great strides, and he has the largest roster that CVCS has ever seen for girls tennis. So the interest is there, the program's going in the right direction. And then we obviously just have our cheer team as well that roots on the football team at the games. And so I think they're up to like 30 girls in the cheer team. So the interest in the fall has definitely been there for our fall sports.
Yeah, I think that is something I noticed is like more than before, like my years here and then before what I've heard is definitely the amount of kids participating and really invested in CVCS sports has been like through the roof compared to the years
and I
before.
think that has to do with, you have great coaches in place. Like Coach Pressler was awesome, obviously. Coach Cam, I feel like, has done a pretty good job of, from what I've heard from the players, of, the transition from coach to coach and, keeping that momentum rolling. And then the rest of our coaches, like I already said, so you have good coaches, kids will want to play for them. So I think that's important.
100%. Yeah, and I think the coaches also do a great job of like making it really competitive, but also, basing it around Christ and having a making it a good environment for them to be in. I think that's one of the key things and why it's grown in the past couple years. So another point I wanted to talk about was upcoming seasons. You mentioned spring and winter. What should some of the fans be looking out for in winter, spring?
Yeah, I think our boys basketball team's moving into a different league, and they should be strong. They return, a vast majority of their roster from last year. And then, boys and girls soccer should be much more improved as well. We have Coach Velasquez on the women's side, and we actually just hired a new boys soccer coach, Coach Sosa. So very excited for him to get started. I've known him for almost 10 years, so kind of a personal connection there. And he was a great coach at Leisegang, who is just an absolute powerhouse in boys soccer in Orange County. I mean, they're in Division I and Open Division, so he was an assistant coach there. So hopefully bringing some of his experience over will, like I said with our fall sports, kind of take our programs to the next level. So hopefully our soccer programs continue to improve, and hopefully there's some student athletes excited, to play for him, and the possibilities of where he could take the program, not only here in the first year but in years to come, because he's just a great man of God and a true leader. And I think that's important in a sport like soccer where it's so physical. And then obviously our spring sports, highlighted by baseball and Coach Clemente. And as you said, you're a part of that program, so I don't need to tell you anything about, what type of man he is and all he does for this school. But, I think our girls beach volleyball team is back-to-back CIF champions as well. And so, I know that's probably not a sport that's highlighted too often just because they're, they don't play anywhere except for the beach. And so it's hard to get there. As fun as it might be to go there, it's, tough to spectate. But Coach Bond obviously does a great job, not only indoor volleyball, but also at the beach. And a back-to-back CIF title is pretty impressive. And then we're in the process of also hiring, softball coach and a girls basketball coach. So actually have some offers out and hoping to get that solidified here in the next week or so. So hopefully we'll have our coaching staff, which, has been a large part of what I've done this, summer of trying to find coaches. I hired Bob in boys soccer and trying to nail down these last two girls basketball and softball coaches. So that's kind of the outlook. I know our baseball program will be strong in talking to Coach Clemente. As far as highlighting specific athletes, I think it would be a little unfair for me to, point out one or two players right now. I'm still getting familiar with everybody, and I might be able to tell you number 5 or number 10 this or that. But, I'm like I said, I'm still getting used to the community and all the different kids' names. And it's a little tough to see the football kids because you see them with their helmets on and you see their faces on campus and you almost don't recognize them. So give me a few more weeks and I'll have some names for you. Talking about some players, some numbers. Josh Monroe, he's number 3 running back for the football team. He's, I believe, 6th in the state right now for rushing yards. So, that's a pretty cool thing for him. I'm sure because last year and the years prior we had JP Sinnott, who is at Wheaton playing football there. So in his first year, getting the large bulk at running back. So I think that's great for him. And then you have in volleyball, they back-to-back CIF, I think, finalists for beach volleyball. And so, I mean, everything's, looking up for CVCS sports. And
And then you mentioned earlier, like, your relationships. You're bringing in one of the coaches from Aliso, so I'm sure that will that's going to make a huge difference for our soccer programs.
Yeah, and even just like a couple of the coaches that we have in mind for the softball and girls basketball programs, I feel like they're very strong candidates, that will help continue the successes and the rise of CVC athletics as a whole. And I think that's been one of my biggest focal points. And you as a multi-sport athlete can hopefully have some appreciation for this, is can we have consistent student-athlete experiences across all sports?
Yeah.
So one student-athlete doesn't have this great experience in the fall and then like an average experience in the winter and maybe not such a great experience in the spring. Like, can we just have stellar experiences all the way across all of our programs? And so I kind of look at it as like each coach has their own team, right? And they're responsible for their team to function and operate properly. And my team is all the coaches. Like, if my team isn't working properly, then how can their teams work properly? And so, like, that's a bigger picture thinking of, like, making sure that all my coaches, are on my team, and can my team be successful?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned you were a student athlete. You played basketball and golf, so just as good as anyone what it requires to be a student athlete here at CVCS. I think they do a better job than any of making that a good environment. Like you said, it stems from you, and I think I haven't heard anything bad from any of the athletes yet. So I think so far you're doing a great job. And
thank you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think being a student athlete is tremendously important, and even just great to learn life skills. Teaches you time management, teaches you scheduling, how to balance the academic workload versus the athletic workload, and then anything extracurricular, friends, work, family, church, like all of those things. I mean, sports will teach that, and the academics obviously being the focal point. I think this school, that was one of the things that attracted me, is that this school, CVCS, does a great job of making sure that our students are true student athletes and not athlete students.
Yeah.
Whereas the academics does come first and the sports will come second. Not to say that sports isn't important. Yeah. But the academics, hold the priority.
Yeah, no, I think Mr. Walker, he was a football player at Washington, so just like you, he knows as good as any, how to be a student athlete, but he's done a great job of focusing on the education, but also allowing the students to have time and the resources to be the best athlete that they want to be. If they want to do it for fun or if they want to take it serious and play at the next level.
Yeah.
So
how do you view the whole prep period thing and having extra time to, whether that's get homework done or do SLT stuff? How do you think that works into your schedule? Do you like that?
Oh, I love it. It's amazing. Yeah. So for me this year, I only have one prep period, but it's my first period prep. So for me, it helps a lot because in the morning I can wake up pretty early and then I can get all my workouts in and then go to school. Then I have practice after school, which leads till 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then after that, I have time for my academics. So I think that was a great addition. Just as a student, it helps so much with time management. Like, I don't think if I had that, I don't think I would be able to get all my work in, And then for some people, it's end of the school day, so they can go home early if they don't have practice, or they can get some work in, and then middle of the day is obviously the best time to get all your homework done in the middle of the day. So I think it was a great addition. Everyone loves it, for sure.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. So you mentioned that when you got the job here, you prayed about it a lot. So where did as CVCS, we obviously really focus on Christ. That's what we instill in all the students here. And where did your relationship with Christ stem from?
Yeah, it stemmed from an early age. My mom, have to give her a lot of credit, like her side of the family. Christ and just being a good human being was instilled in me from a young age, and so I grew up going to church and different, Bible schools and summer camps at church, and so, ever since I can remember, so we'll say, kindergarten, That was a big part of my life. And I will say that like in the middle of me realizing that I was a pretty good golfer, and the time that took to travel to all the different junior tournaments and tournaments on the weekends, definitely lost a bit of my relationship with the Lord. But through college and even in my adult life, I've been able to pick that back up and just be in different part of FCA groups. And like FCA has really grown, probably from the time that I was in school to now when the time you're in school.
Yeah.
And so I think that watching that rise, that helped me as a student athlete too, of knowing that there was other Christian athletes that were all playing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And that's for the Lord. But yeah, it's been a part of me for my entire, life, like from a very young age, and very grateful that, my parents instilled that in me. But it's awesome to come to a place that, offers, educational excellence in a Christ-centered environment, because there's, I think, a lot of schools out there that might have the perception of, oh, they're like a private school, or they're a Christian school, or they're faith-based, but like, what are they really doing to help their students, grow with the Lord, and knowing that when they leave campus and they get into the real world, that they're going to be putting them on the right path. And so I appreciate 100%. That CVCS, has that vision, and that our teachers, our faculty, our staff carry that out.
Yeah, no, I think 100% right. I think a lot of schools just around the world, especially Catholic Christian schools, that you kind of get that impression that they say they are, but they don't really do much. But I think CVCS has helped me so much of as a student athlete, you have so much stuff to do, and you have so much time that's taken away, and it's hard to set time for the Lord. But I think CVCS really instills that in you to focus and create time for the Lord, and go to Him when you're stressed out or something. Mm-hmm. But even more than that, I think what all the teachers and coaches do a great job of is, like, when you're playing, like you said, play for the right reasons, right? Mm-hmm. So try to reflect. Something that I've always heard coming into my third year here is reflect Christ in the way you play. And I think that's one of the most important things. And I don't know how yours was in high school, but did you kind of try to do the same thing or was that kind of a time where you kind of grew away from it?
Yeah, no, I would say very much so. I try to do that. And I think that a lot of the times, and I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, but being an athlete, you're put in high tension situations, in games and practices, and athletics will do that to you. It'll test you mentally, it'll also test you physically. But, if you can remember at the end of the day is like the reason of why you're playing, and to honor the Lord and glorify the Lord through this, God-given abilities that you've been given in whatever sport you play, and keeping that at the forefront of, why you're playing this sport. The altercations, the foul language, the, maybe dirty plays or bad situations would hopefully all be minimized, and seeing the bigger picture as to why we're really here. And so I always try to keep that, in the forefront, especially like in a game of basketball where as golf, there's not as much, competition. You're more sports. Of, battling your own mental state versus a specific opponent. But in basketball, I definitely use that approach.
Yeah. I mean, the physical sports are always the hardest. You kind of flare up, get some tensions with the other team. But like you said, if you really try to play through Christ, I think you can maneuver those situations really well. To kind of cap this interview off here, I wanted to see, you talked about your team of coaches. Mm-hmm. They have their own team, and then you have your team of coaches. Are you taking any steps to kind of try to involve Christ with them, talk to them about it, and try to relay that to the different teams?
Yeah. So we as coaches, just like the rest of the school, we've adapted the follow and lead theme for this year. And so, we're challenging each of our coaches. We hold monthly coaches meetings. Okay. So just we meet once a month as an entire group, which is pretty hard, as you can imagine, for 16 different sports to get together. Yeah. But we make it work. And, so we devote half of our time to like agenda items and business. And then we devote half the time to the faith aspect of being able to, we have a chaplain who is, Jeff Hamilton, so I think
Yeah.
it goes by PJ.
Yeah.
So he spearheads that for us and he leads that. But we're working through some different things, some 3D coaching, so just some different developmental things to help coaches grow with the Lord through their sport, and then hopefully in our different devotionals, our disciplines, and discipleship, like our coaches can use that in their practices and their games with their student athletes, and let that trickle down from the top up, which comes from my office. But yeah, we take half the time of our staff meeting every month and work through what that approach looks like with PJ, and then the other half is all business related. And so we work through different agendas and like projects through the faith aspect of that from meeting to meeting. So it's not just like we talk about it once a month, but there's some different things to work on in between meetings that we'll have this year. Obviously, we're just getting started like everyone else. So we actually have our second meeting coming up, but we've kind of laid the foundation in our first meeting back in August. And so excited to see what this year has in store, but we'll definitely be doing some faith development and leading with all of our coaches, and hope that trickles down to the programs themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a student athlete myself, I think, you talked about like those meetings and trickling it down to the students. I think all the coaches here that I've ever had an experience with or talked to all do a great job of that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I hope to connect with more student athletes. I think that if there's one thing that I could say to the people out there listening to us today is, if there's ever a student athlete that wants to talk or vent or come ask questions or figure out why this or why that, or, why can't we have, the Major League Baseball field, just come to my office. Like I have an open door policy. I'm up in Coach Presler's old office, room 228. And so like if there's any student athletes out there that, need to share something or just want to get some questions answered, like more than happy to have a healthy conversation and see how I can help them out in their programs.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that just about wraps our time up here. So thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me today, and look forward to seeing all the great student athletes do great things this season.
For sure. Thank you.
This episode has been a production of the Capistrano Valley Christian Schools Podcast Network. Capistrano Valley Christian Schools is a Christian JK through 12 school in San Juan Capistrano, California. Be sure to check out, subscribe to, and leave a review of this show and the other shows on our network on your podcast player of choice. Doing so supports the school community in a multitude of ways. For more information about the CVCS Podcast Network or any of our other shows, check out cvcs.org or email podcasts@cvcs.org. On behalf of the whole network, this is Mr. Jasper saying thank you again for listening, and stay tuned for more.